Hello and welcome to this special mini episode of the Star Wars Universe podcast. Matthew Carroll has been one of my favorite podcasting buddies, and he came on to, do some kind of primers about the Clone Wars as we were getting ready. He's not been a big Star Wars person, but he kind of made an awesome commitment that he wanted to learn more and kind of explore it more and check out Kenobi. So now we have him on to talk about the first 3 episodes of Obi-Wan Kenobi, the Star Wars show on Disney+. We'll have all that and more after this quick commercial break that we have no control over. Welcome back. I'm Matthew Fox. They them pronouns.
Hello, I'm Matthew Carroll.
We should be calling these Matthew Squared, because I like when you and I get to team up on things. We've recently talked about the Orville. We've talked about the boys. And I have to say, I've really enjoyed the fact, because you came to me about this. You wanted to get involved with Kenobi. I really enjoyed your perspectives, and I'm just really curious. What are you thinking of the show so far?
Yeah, man. Episodes? Thanks for having me back. We did all those preparatory episodes, so I was hoping I could hop on in the first few weeks and get to do an episode about this. We did. It took us a lot of weeks to get those other episodes in, so I'm glad we got to just hop on now. 3 episodes in, I am loving the show. I think personally, it's the best thing Star Wars has ever done. Which is like, I know a lot of people are like, what? And it's obviously it's new and everything, but like,
right.
My biggest problem with Star Wars is I don't feel the characters are there, and I feel like it relies. We actually talked a little bit about on the MCU cast last night, where Jeff was like, "Best thing, like better than Mandalorian," and I was like, "Yes, 1,000 times better," because I think it like does not really. Obviously, it relies on some previous canon, but like the feelings I am feeling for Obi-Wan are new and different, and they are based on his position and his like, the term resist the call is thrown around in like everything. He has not only is he resisting the call in a really interesting way, but he resists it for a very valid reason that we all know.
Right.
Like he failed, and like he's the kind of become the underdog failure who's coming back and trying to do the thing. And like, that is a position that's always someone that's easy to root for. And then you throw in Leia, who I think has brought nothing but amazing life to the show. Like, everyone keeps making fun of that scene where she's running from the smugglers. But I think the idea there is like, no one expected her to be as spunky as she is. And she like slides down that little hill, dodges under things. I think her character is just nothing but life to me. I love it, love it, love it, love it, love it. I think she's funny. I think she's to me, she's not annoying at all. I think she's just like really, really funny and really spunky, and just like a great example of just this little girl who's like got a lot of grit and wants to, wants to be free and wants to do her thing. I love her. Mm-hmm. It makes me like older Leia better, knowing younger Leia.
One of my other podcasting partners, Paul, the Zen Madman, the owner of the video channels where you can check things out, although you may not want to after I read this, he said in the chat, Obi-Wan bailed on watching over Leia, as in Bail Organa. So I promise there's not, generally I'm the one with the bad puns when we're together, but if you love the bad puns, come around to the other episodes. I agree with so much what you're saying. I think for me, I don't find Leia annoying at all. I love her character. I love the actress playing her. And Paul actually made a good comment we recorded on this on the other episode that, she knows this planet. She would be good at running through the planet. She'd be good at hiding and knowing the secret paths and things like that.
Yeah.
I just thought the scene was shot badly.
Sure.
The way it was shot was not, it felt to me like an older guy pretending to chase a young girl. But
I see that, but I also, to me, that was just that the smugglers weren't expecting, and you also like, you look at a little girl running, like maybe you don't put forth your full effort, you know what I mean? You're like, I'm gonna catch her, it's fine. But then like, she just kept dodging and weaving, and she just tries. Like, they're gonna catch her, in that scene, there's no way she's getting away, but like, she tries, and they're not putting forth any more effort than they have to, and I found that charming and fun.
100%. To me, I love the character, especially because, like, I can only imagine Carrie Fisher, smiling from wherever she is and like kind of watching this and being like, "Yep, that's baby Princess Leia," because like and there's a lot of great moments she has in the first 2 episodes, but especially in this third one, when Obi-Wan says all the stuff to her about, okay, now remember, you're the one who doesn't talk. Here's our cover story. And she's like, okay. And then just like starts running her mouth.
Yep.
And it was just so, I was like, this is exactly the person who grows up to be into the garbage chute flyboy. You know, like it's just, to me, prequels are hard when I have trouble believing that that's who they are. You know, I am sure that, like, I think the Solo movie, if it was not connected to Star Wars, I would greatly enjoy it. Lando Calrissian was fantastic. And the guy playing a young scoundrel was very good at playing a young scoundrel. Nothing about him read as Han Solo to me. This, and maybe that was the writing and the direction, who knows? I'm not blaming the actor.
Well, it also, the distance of time and age is also a factor in that scenario. I think, like, a child, you give a lot of room to, like, oh, she looks enough like her. She's, like, basically the same look. It's fine. You know, but that Han is so close in age, it's hard sometimes to, like, substitute, you know?
But, like, I think with both Ewan McGregor and young Leia, I 100% believe it. I'm seeing, and I think part of that's Ewan McGregor being such a good actor. I think this girl is a very good actor. I think the writing is just so like, the writers got Princess Leia's voice so well.
Agreed.
And yeah, so I keep talking about her, but you know, the audience has heard from me a lot. We want to hear more from you.
Well, no, I mean, I just haven't had a bad word to say. I think the first 2 episodes are really, really wonderful. I love the sort of meditative nature of him going to work and coming home and going to work and coming home. I love that when he finally decides to put on the lightsaber, like, he's out of practice, and like I love that he like cuts his hand in that fight with the smugglers or the bounty hunters in the second episode. Like, he's just not the Obi-Wan at the height of his powers. He's this very stepped down Obi-Wan. And I love Reva. I think she's great. I love her character. I think, I'm sure you guys have talked about this, but I am almost 100% certain it's the little girl from the beginning of the show.
Very likely.
Very, very likely. Because why else would you show that scene? Because I think that scene is unimportant unless it means something to one of those characters, and I think it probably is Reva, who feels betrayed by the Jedi, feels abandoned, and then she turned to the dark side. And I'm even like, I'm torn about what she really wants. She keeps saying, like, she wants what she's owed and all this stuff. I don't know what she wants. Like, does she want to catch Obi-Wan because she wants to kill Obi-Wan? And is Obi-Wan going to be able to convince her that, like, he was doing his best? And is she going to be able to bring her back to the light side? Like, I think there's a lot of possibilities with those 2 characters.
Well, especially because I think one thing the show has done a very good job of is leaving unclear, does she have a personal vendetta against Obi-Wan, or does she have a fanatical loyalty to Anakin, and thus she's kind of taken up, like, it's the, like, I will do anything to please my master, to make him see that I am the best Inquisitor that could ever inquisit, and thus want to reward. And as well as just, you know, so much of the Sith is about, like, revenge and ambition and power.
Right.
I imagine that kind of thing, it could be like, oh, who hurt my, you know, the person who's my lord, who hurt them, then I am sworn to you, if they hurt you, they hurt me. Or it could be about her personal, you know, it could be any of these things.
Yeah, agreed. And I do think there's something specific about Obi-Wan. I think he's going to be a character that she has looked up to, or she looked up to her throughout her childhood, and then feels that he didn't stay to protect her, you know, like he disappeared on her when she needed him. That's what I think. But also, like, I'm wondering about the Sith thing, because also she doesn't seem as force powerful as many of the other characters. Like the other Inquisitors seem more powerful. They even call her the least of them. Even though she's very ambitious, she may not be as powerful in the Force. And I'm wondering if that's either just natural proclivities to the Force, or if her how much do they train the Sith? Because she's not technically a Sith, right? Because there can only be 2. So she's a dark side Force user who's working for Vader, but Vader and Palpatine are the only 2 Sith, right? Right. That's how that works.
But part of the idea is, and this is something that we've explored in other parts of the canon, but here I like it that, like, kind of, there's some things that, like, you may not have known that knowing can help you, but it's like not knowing them doesn't ruin it for you. You know, one of the key ideas of the Sith is that they're all ambitious, they're all power hungry. Like their code is about, never letting yourself be enslaved to someone else, always wanting the power, always craving the power, to the point where in that's part of why there should only be 2, so that we stop the idea. Because part of the idea was that like you don't want 5 to gang up and kill the 1, because then you have 5 weaker ones instead of 1 super powerful one. But that eventually every apprentice is supposed to kill their own master. And so part of the idea would be Vader's always looking for who can be his number 1 apprentice, so that he can then eventually take over from the Emperor. Which, if you remember in Empire Strikes Back, that's exactly what Vader's want. That's why, like, the Emperor wants Vader to recruit Luke, but Vader wants to recruit Luke for himself so he can go after the Emperor. And I think you're right. I think she's probably the least powerful. I think I think this could be, I think something clear, especially the fact that we know that she was in the temple during Order 66, and that Anakin was in the temple, and that Anakin was killing younglings. I think that he found her, and that's why she has so much, and that maybe he spared her life, and maybe because she wasn't powerful yet, or maybe he just said, like, maybe what if she was like, the way to live is to like help this guy kill some of these other younglings. Yeah,
that would take a little weight from, I forget even where she had this conversation, but sometime in these 2 episodes, she had a conversation where she talked about how after the fall of the Jedi, she was like living on the street. And like,
that is true,
and wasn't able. I think she probably ran from Order 66 and then ended up eventually falling to the dark side to just be able to survive, because she was like being hunted and living on the streets and stuff as a little kid.
Right. And we know that Kenobi was the one who sent out this message saying, like, look, the Jedi are over, they're done, don't come back, don't try to come back to the temple. Don't try to be Jedi anymore. So I could see that maybe that's why she feels betrayed by him.
Yeah, absolutely. See, I don't know that message. I don't know is that in episode 3?
Some of it's in episode 3 and some of it's in Rebels.
Okay, haven't gotten to Rebels. Cool. Yeah, man. I just think it's great. I don't have a negative word to say. I guess the only thing, the 3rd episode, I love seeing Vader. Love James Earl Jones' voice combined with the physicality of Hayden Christensen, I'm guessing is under the suit. I don't know. Like maybe that's a stunt man for some of that work. I don't know. But those physicalities and the voice are working great together to really elicit Vader in a way that hasn't been done since the original trilogy, except for maybe Rogue One, that final scene. But him just torturing regular people, it's really hard to understand how Anakin got there. And like, it's shocking because that's more brutal than I've ever seen Vader be. I mean, he destroys a planet, so granted, but like personally, he destroys the planet for a purpose because he's trying to like root out the rebels,
Tarkin, right? He doesn't stop it, but it's Grand Moff Tarkin who decides to destroy the planet.
Okay. So I've never seen him personally do something out of pure sadistic reasons, and I mean, I've read any of the books or anything, so like. It's mostly he does things in battle or to other soldiers or to at least, officers in his employ that aren't listening to him, stuff like that. Like, but this was just like people on the street just hanging out. And he just seems to be dragging them into the street and punishing them and snaps that one kid's neck with the Force and drags that one lady face down. Like, it's all just terrible, terrible stuff. And it's just seems just sadistic fun to him. Maybe he's doing it to draw Obi-Wan out, I guess.
Yeah, see, I think it is not sadistic fun. I think it's very much for a purpose. And I think it's the sort of thing where he's like, I don't want to just go around like killing kids to kill kids, but if killing kids will advance my goal, hell yeah. And I think, especially because we see those shots of Obi-Wan's face and you see how guilty he feels. And especially the fact that Vader says, you should have killed me. I think what he's basically saying is, look, because you left me alive, I'm killing all these people. That's on you. You have to kill me if you want me to stop. Every moment you're not trying to kill me, all the people I kill are on your conscience. And he's goading Obi-Wan into a fight, and he succeeds. Yeah,
it's a very Joker aesthetic there of like, I want you to be the madman who wants to kill me, not the stoic superhero. Yeah, man, that's possible. I do think that is part of the reason he's doing all that killing out there. But it also I've just never seen him do something just so utterly sadistic. And so, and having just watched Clone Wars, it's really hard to understand Anakin getting there.
Right.
But you know, I'm hoping we really get. And tell me, I know that there were a lot of speculation that they would not meet in the show, because what does older Obi-Wan say that makes that seem not likely?
So check out the Star Wars Universe podcast episode about episode 3, because I went into a long thing about this, and both my co-hosts totally disagreed with me. But what he says is, the circle is now complete. When I left you, I was but the student. Now I am the master. And so at first I was like, they shouldn't meet. And then some people pointed out, like, they could meet. We don't know that when he says, when I left you, they mean
the last time I saw you.
Here's the thing, though, as a number of folks pointed out, there's already a number of things, like the prequels, so much of the prequels kind of retcons the original movies in this idea of, like, in the original movies, the Jedi are this ancient religion. Literally, that's the phrase that's used.
Right, yeah.
When actually, like, the Imperial officers who were teasing Vader about this ancient religion all would have served with Jedi in the Clone Wars 20 years ago. So there's definitely a lot of that. I didn't love this scene for that reason, because I do think it's important for In a New Hope that this is the first time where Vader has felt that he is more powerful than Obi-Wan.
Yeah.
And for me, that's a very important scene, and so I don't love the way they did it in this, but that's just me. A lot of people see it differently, and I think that's completely okay. Like, I'm never going to be the person being like, you ruined my childhood.
Yeah, they didn't take away with those movies. Nonsense. But I do think there's enough room in that line. When I left you could mean when I was last as your pupil. Like, when I left your side, I was your student, but now I'm clearly the master. It could even, you know, you could even throw an extra line in there. I am now clearly the master. You know how I bested you back on that planet one time. You know what I mean? Like, that could, there's enough room in that. I also want to say about the ancient religion line. I never really thought of this. Mm-hmm. But the officer says that to him in one of the movies.
A New Hope, yeah, the first one.
He says, your ancient religion.
Your sad devotion to that ancient religion has not allowed you to conjure up the stolen data tapes. God, why have I memorized that?
Yeah, that was sad. No, I'm just kidding. That's great. I gotta say, though, like, I've always heard that line, and we've joked about it many times in our recordings about how there's 20 years, and why wouldn't they know about the ancient religion? But what if he means the Sith? What if he just means the Sith?
Because he's specifically talking about what he says right before that is that the power of this Death Star is insignificant next to the power of the Force. So he's specifically I think it's pretty clear. Here's the thing. I think that there's a difference between what is implied in these scenes and what the literal meaning of the wording is.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So I think, yes, it is possible to tell all kind of prequel stories that take the literal meaning, and it's a pretty big change from what it's been understood as for all this time. I just don't like when writers do that. It's like, why not just why? To me, it just feels, it's why I just in general don't like prequels. And, like, again, I don't want to get, like,
I generally agree with that. But I will say, like, he just talked about the power of the Force, and, like, I'm not saying the Jedi never talk about the power of the Force, but the Sith are the one that believe in, like, maximizing the power of the Force. The Jedi are more about, like, using it to guide your actions and stuff, and, like, using it to, like, if you're talking about, like, I want the power to blow up planets, maybe a Sith would believe that. A Jedi probably wouldn't. You know what I mean? Like, so I'm just saying, like, his devotion to his ancient religion could mean you're a Sith. There's only been ever 2 of them that we've seen, so, like, you know what I mean?
I think you could twist the words to mean that, for sure.
Yeah,
I just don't think that's the... But,
but again,
I agree. It's like...
I like to headcanon, man. I like to.
I get it. But yeah, and I think that's... Because here's the thing. One thing that I have been feeling a lot lately, and I've talked about this with people on the Star Wars podcast. We talked about this somewhat on the Superhero Ethics podcast. We were talking about the Amber Heard Johnny Depp trial. It's a very weird feeling when you kind of feel mildly about something, but then you see the people who feel very strongly as though they agree with you and are just utterly terrible, you know? And, like, I have friends who, they don't love Reva's performance, which I think is completely legitimate.
Right.
But then they're like, oh, but wait a minute, like, all these other people don't like it for very racist reasons. That's stupid, you know? Like, and I think, yeah, to me, that's kind of what I feel with this. Like, Was it my favorite moment? No. Do I think the show would have been better if it hadn't done that? Yes. Do I wish that there was more of a fidelity to the implication of those things instead of the original wording? Yeah, I would prefer that. But when I see these people who are just like, oh, they're ruining my childhood, it's terrible. No, it's none of those things. To me, that doesn't subtract from my enjoyment of the show. It's still a good show. It's just not my favorite thing they've done.
Yeah, I hear you. All right, cool, man. Well, thank you for having me on the show. I know we just wanted to do a short one.
My pleasure. I'm so glad to be on it.
Absolutely.
Let me see if there's any other quick questions or comments that I wanted to get into. Oh, yeah. I do want to ask you, as a musician, did it change your view of that? It's one thing to watch a grown man chase a young girl through the woods. But how did you feel about a bass player from a band from our childhood?
I loved it. He's now been in tons of movies, way back. I want to say, wasn't he in Back to the Future? Or am I thinking of someone else?
I think of the Chili Peppers as a 90s band.
Well, those movies made it into the 90s.
Oh, okay. You don't mean the originals, yeah.
No. Yeah, maybe not. The first one was, I think, 87? 89. It's 89. So,
Michael Peter Bozzari played the part of Needles in Back to the Future Part 2 and reprised the role at the close of Back to the Future. So forgive me, I may have just spoiled something from Back to the Future Part 3.
Yeah, so he's been in that. He was in Baby Driver, Big Lebowski, Fear and Loathing. Just looking at he's been in a lot of movies, and it's just he's got such a signature face that I'm used to seeing him show up, and he loves to show up in these sort of sci-fi arenas. So it's a lot of fun. Nice. It was a lot of fun to see him catch him in there. We have a question in the chat. DQBet91 says, could she be a double agent? Talking about Reva. I think that is absolutely possible. I think that is totally possible that we get to the end of this. She's been wanting to be the one to find Obi-Wan. She fights so hard to be the one to find him. And then she could find him and then help him escape or help him reach out to the rebels or like join the path or whatever,
I think that's possible. I think I'd be disappointed by that because I think it is having a woman, let alone a woman of color, be, an intimidating, scary villain. And not to mention being like an attractive, villain in that way. Like people like villains.
Sure, yeah.
I think it would kind of undercut the character somewhat. I think that it's possible, and it's possible also that she gets turned to the dark side, or
to the light, yeah.
To the light. I mean, I'm trying to remember, did we see her actually kill anybody in some of those earlier scenes in episode 1 or 2?
Not that I remember. I don't remember her actually. Well, honestly, even if she does, that could be part of her cover, and she might just be really deep cover working with these guys. You know what I mean? I don't know. Yeah. I think I definitely thought of that while watching the show, that might be the case.
Right. Yeah, it'd be interesting. I think Darth Vader at this point is very good at kind of reading people's minds and reading their emotions. So it would be, you'd have to make me believe that she could fool him, but that could be another interesting story.
Yeah, for sure.
And so anyway, lots more to talk about. Thank you so much, Matt, for coming on this.
Absolutely.
Matt, I think you do a podcast or two every now and then, right?
I do way too many podcasts these days. Yeah, I do. I mostly, my biggest show is the Marvel Cinematic Universe podcast. So check us out if you haven't. But if you really look for stuff, we got a lot of stuff going on. We just started covering The Boys and The Orville over on Pandavision, our podcast Pandavision, and our other podcast Bingers Assemble, where we rewatch movies so you don't have to. We're rewatching Jurassic Park. So come join us on all those shows. Check it out. Check them out. Nice. StrandedPanda.com.
Yeah, StrandedPanda.com. You'll find so much good stuff there. And, of course, you can find this podcast and all the others that I do on theethicalpanda.com. All our Kenobi coverage, we did a whole bunch of episodes about Moon Knight. We're going to start doing stuff about some other great stuff coming out. And at theethicalpanda.com, you'll find all the ways to give us feedback. Emails, tweets. We're going to start doing a feedback episode about Kenobi because we are getting a good deal of feedback, which is great. And if you want to be able to check out what my tie and makeup is going to be each week, we are also now doing video streams of these podcasts. If you go to twitch.com and search for Zen, let me actually say it again. If you go to youtube.com and look for the Zen Madman channel, the link to it will be in the show notes. All those are up there. Also on the Zen Madman channel, you'll find a lot of great videos. Paul is going this great thing where he's playing poker while re-listening to older podcasts. It's a lot of fun. He gets to, make fun of all the things that I said 5 years ago because he thinks I can't respond. But I'm listening and I'm responding. So in the YouTube comments, you can see me firing back. We're having a lot of fun with it. And we're really trying to build that channel to help support all the podcasting we're doing. So if you can, even if you're not going to watch, if you don't mind, just take 5 seconds, click like, click subscribe. It'll really help us grow those channels and keep all the ethical panda panding. So
in a couple years, you need to listen back to his live streams and then comment on what he's saying in those live streams.
That's the move.
Yeah.
The move is I've got to become a better poker player than Paul so I can then do that and comment on the poker. And I've only been trying to do that for 25 years. So I'm sure that now is the time when I'm really going to hit my stride.
You just insult the whole thing by like playing like Connect 4 or something, Like,
oh, I like it.
Just really play something like really simplistic and be like, look, I'm Paul. And like be
The high level strategy indeed. I love it. All right. You heard it here first, folks. Connect 4, listening to Paul's things will definitely be a thing. Anyway, Matt, thank you so much for being part of it. To all our fans, thank you for being awesome fans. And most importantly, have a great day.